How did our grandparents manage to afford more with less money? Today, we dive into this intriguing question. So buckle up as we journey back in time to understand how people managed to afford more with less money. Back in the day, the cost of living was significantly lower than it is today. Just imagine a time when the price of a loaf of bread was just a few pennies, and you could rent a decent house for a fraction of today's cost. Basic utilities like electricity, water and gas, well, they were more like an afterthought on the monthly budget, not the significant expense they've become in our current era. And let's not forget about the cost of food. Fresh produce, dairy, meat, all were considerably cheaper. People could afford to fill their pantries without breaking the bank. And the best part? This lower cost of living didn't just mean more money in people's pockets, it meant a higher quality of life. With less financial stress, people had more freedom to enjoy the simple pleasures, like a family meal or a weekend getaway. Lower cost of living allowed people to afford more with less money. Stable employment was more common in the past. Imagine a time when job hopping was not the norm. Instead, people often spent their entire career with a single employer. This wasn't merely a matter of loyalty, but rather, it was the product of a job market that prized long-term employment relationships. Having a stable job provided a predictable income, allowing individuals to plan their finances with greater certainty. This stability played a significant role in shaping the economic landscape of the past. It allowed households to budget their expenses, save for the future, and even afford some luxuries without the fear of sudden income loss. Moreover, employers valued their employees, investing in their skills and growth over time. This not only contributed to a sense of job security, but also fostered a workforce that was highly specialized and efficient. Stable employment meant more financial security and better purchasing power. It was a cornerstone of a time when people could afford more with less money. Despite earning less, people in the past had a higher purchasing power. But what does that mean exactly? Well, purchasing power is the value of a currency expressed in terms of the amount of goods or services that one unit of money can buy. It's a reflection of the health of an economy, and it can be eroded by inflation. When inflation is low, the purchasing power of money is high. Decades ago, inflation was indeed lower, thus money held its value better. A dollar, or a pound, or a yen could buy much more than it can today. This is why, despite lower wages, people could afford more. They were living in economies where their money had more buying power. It's a paradox of sorts, earning less, but being able to buy more. That was the reality of the past. In the past, people had less debt. This wasn't just a stroke of luck, but a result of a different financial culture and mindset. Saving was highly valued and seen as a necessity, not a luxury. This culture of saving was ingrained in people's minds from a young age, fostering financial discipline that often stayed with them throughout their lives. The idea of borrowing money was met with an aversion, almost a taboo for many. Instead of relying on credit cards and loans, people would save up for the things they needed or wanted. This might have meant waiting a bit longer, but it also meant avoiding the dreaded interest that comes with debt. With less money tied up in repayments, people had more disposable income for other needs and wants. They had the freedom to invest, to treat themselves, or to simply put more into their savings for a rainy day. Less debt meant more disposable income for other needs. Healthcare was less of a financial burden back then. The cost of healthcare in the past was significantly lower than it is today. Insurance played a crucial role in making healthcare more affordable for people. In many cases, it was often provided by employers as part of a benefits package, reducing out-of-pocket expenses for individuals and families. Moreover, the government was more involved in subsidizing healthcare costs, helping to keep them low. This support came in the form of direct subsidies to hospitals and indirect subsidies through health programs. These subsidies made healthcare more accessible and affordable, even for those with lower incomes. The accessibility and affordability of healthcare back then meant that people did not have to choose between their health and other basic needs. They had more financial freedom to allocate their resources to other areas of their life. Education was more affordable in the past. It was a time when diplomas were within reach without amassing a mountain of debt. College tuition, textbooks, and housing expenses didn't leave graduates scrambling to pay off loans for decades. The value of education was tangible, and it was reflected in the price tag. Universities were seen as public goods. where the pursuit of knowledge was promoted for the betterment of society. As such, government subsidies were in place to keep costs down and make higher education accessible to all. This support was instrumental in maintaining lower education costs. This affordability didn't just benefit the students, it was also advantageous for the economy. Graduates could contribute to society and the workforce sooner without the burden of large debts. They had more freedom to innovate, create, and drive economic growth. I hope you are enjoying the video. Please like and subscribe for more content to boost your financial growth journey. The past saw periods of significant economic growth. In those golden eras, the economy was much like a thriving garden, abundant and evergreen. This growth wasn't just confined to the spreadsheets of economists. It was tangible, palpable, and it touched the lives of everyday people in profound ways. Rapid economic expansion led to the creation of a multitude of jobs. These weren't just any jobs, but stable, well-paying ones that allowed people to provide for their families comfortably. This job boom, in turn, led to a significant increase in people's purchasing power. Suddenly, things that were once considered luxuries became accessible to the average person. This economic prosperity didn't just fill people's pockets, it changed their lives. It gave them the ability to afford a better standard of living, to do more than just make ends meet. It allowed them to dream bigger, reach higher, and achieve more. Economic growth led to better living standards and affordability. Transportation costs were lower in the past. Public transport was more prevalent, reducing personal vehicle expenses. This shift in the transportation landscape positively impacted people's budgets, allowing funds to be allocated elsewhere. One-income households were more common in the past. With strategic financial management and a lower cost of living, families could thrive on a single salary. Less was spent on non-essentials, and frugality was key. One-income households managed to afford more with less due to lower living costs. Consumerism was less prevalent in the past. In bygone eras, societies were more inclined towards saving and investing rather than spending. This shift in consumer behavior over time, driven by marketing and societal changes, has led to an increase in non-essential purchases. It's not just about the tangible items we buy, but also the intangible ones like experiences and services, which have contributed to escalating consumerism. This culture of buy now, pay later has created a cycle of debt and instant gratification that wasn't as pervasive in the past. Our predecessors valued longevity and functionality over novelty and abundance, making do with less but enjoying more financial freedom. Less consumerism meant more money for essential needs. People led simpler lives back then. This phrase is not just a nostalgic throwback to an earlier time, but a reflection of a way of life that had a profound impact on how people managed their finances. The lifestyles were less cluttered, less focused on materialism, and more centered around the essentials. It was not uncommon for a household to have just one television set or a single family car. This reduction in non-essentials naturally translated into less expenditure, leaving more room for savings and financial stability. People were more content with what they had, and this contentment was a significant factor in making life more affordable. The cycle was self-sustaining. Simplicity led to savings, and savings led to financial freedom. Job security was better in the past. You could start working for a company as a young adult, and if you so desired, retire from that very same company. This was largely due to labor laws which protected employees and discouraged arbitrary dismissals. This job security wasn't just about peace of mind. It was a cornerstone of financial stability. Knowing that your income was secured meant you could make longer-term financial plans, like buying a house or planning for retirement. In comparison, the gig economy of today, while offering flexibility, lacks in providing the same level of security. Tax rates were lower in the past. In the mid-20th century, for instance, the average earner paid significantly less in taxes than today. This was largely due to a more restrained approach to government spending, which kept the need for tax revenue in check. If you couple lower tax rates with the fact that many goods and services were more affordable, you begin to see a picture of a time when the average person had more financial freedom. This wasn't just about having more money in your pocket. Lower tax rates meant more disposable income, and more disposable income meant individuals and families had more freedom to choose how they spent their earnings. Lower tax rates meant more disposable income, there was less regulation in the past. This provided the marketplace with a certain level of freedom that allowed for innovation, competition, and growth. Without the constraints of excessive government intervention, businesses were able to focus on creating value and cutting costs, which translated into more affordable goods and services for consumers. In a landscape of reduced regulation, free markets thrived. These markets, driven by the fundamental principles of supply and demand, were more capable of self-regulation, creating an environment conducive to economic prosperity. The impact of less regulation on affordability cannot be understated. It allowed for the creation of wealth and the distribution of resources in a manner that was both efficient and fair. Less regulation meant more economic freedom and affordability. These factors combined to create a financial landscape vastly different from today. But it's not about longing for the past, it's about understanding it. The lessons we can glean from then can help us navigate the economic complexities of now. We can learn to manage our finances better, to prioritize what truly matters, and perhaps to afford more with less. While times have changed, we can still learn valuable lessons from the past about managing our finances. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos.